Aren't we going to do an intro?
I thought we didn't have to.
We don't have to.
She
No
said
one
that
says we have to do anything.
she can pull something out of there, right?
She can pull something out of there.
Okay.
Does that mean you're not going to do an intro?
Yeah. Do you want to do an intro?
So can you at least enjoy this cherry for me?
No.
Come on.
I'm good.
Come on. One bite. There you go. Roll it. So the big question is this. How are leaders like you that recognize people and technology are the backbone of the company they're building continue to make progress when they have no clear idea on how to develop individuals and utilize technology in a way that helps them remain profitable? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. This is Tom and Michaela, and welcome to the Heart and Hustle Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Heart and Hustle Podcast. Here we are back with the headphones on, and I feel like it's back to normal.
Yeah, we're trying new things, trying different things.
You know,
Seeing what works best.
I like to be able to hear myself and hear you talk in my ears as we're doing this. I don't like the open air environment.
It's a lot easier to hear with the headphones.
It is.
We're trying different technology and what's going to work best. And so far, we're liking the headphones.
You know, before we sat down, we're trying to struggle. You know, what's a great topic to talk about? You know, and we talk about this. Episode number 3 of our 7-part series, or a 7-part. This is our 3rd part of our 7-part series.
Yes.
Of HR. And, you know, one thing, I don't know what it is, and maybe you can help me through this process, but I've been struggling a lot lately about something.
What's that?
You know me as better as anybody, and I can't feel like I'm the only person that struggles with this in a corporate work environment, and I can't feel like, I'm, in the majority either, but I really struggle with the environment at which that we work in, not necessarily with people, but just the physical cleanliness, the physical way that things look, the way that you walk into an office every single morning, or you walk into your environment, and the feeling that gives back to you.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Your environment really plays a big part in your mental and emotional well-being, and different people have different tolerances of cleanliness or what's an enjoyable environment to them. And yeah, I hear you.
It's, for me, it's difficult. Maybe you can help me talk through this or step me through this. But, tonight we were down at our new facility, our new area in the Haymarket inside Lincoln. And hopefully Victoria can post some nice screenshots or some videos here. But, excuse me. But I walked in and it's like things were out of place. And, it was very minor. It was on a scale of 1 to 10. It was probably a 0.001. It was like nothing. But still, it was this odd place for me. Like I wanted to walk in and see this fresh new thing every day or every morning when I walk in. The cleaners were there over the weekend. Everything was smelling fresh and nice, and everything was, kind of, just not in disarray by any means, like by zero things. There was like hardly anything out. But yet I walked in and I saw these differences, and it was just like it was bugging me.
Yeah. There's a fine balance there. I think my issue, big picture, is if just a small example, you have one person leaving 3 or 4 PCs and a couple power cords and a dock on their desk because
Not a doctor, a docking station.
Yes, a docking station.
There you go.
Because maybe they're working on it for the next work day, or they know exactly what they're going to do with it and they don't want to misplace it or whatever. You have 1 or 2 people doing that. Okay. But you have 4, 5, 8, 10 people doing that, and it starts to get really messy really fast. And we don't necessarily work well in messy environments, I don't think anybody wants to work in a messy environment, but some people have different tolerances of what's messy and what's not. What I think is messy may be completely different from what one of our coworkers thinks is messy, and there's sometimes a big difference there.
Right. For me, it's like when I walk in the morning, no matter if it's here at the Nest or, at now what we call the Coop. We love that name, by the way, the Coop and the Nest. It's just like I want that 51st dates Love that movie, but that feeling of like you're walking into this brand new environment. Things are just clean and ready for the day, and they're organized, and it's just go time. And then before you leave every day, everything is kind of put back into place. Everything is reset back to normal, and it's ready for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I take it to the extreme. I mean, in my personal life, you said this weekend, like I am so predictable on so many things out there. Like, but I feel like on most things that I do, I'm very unpredictable on how I actually function and how I live my life.
Mm-hmm. You pull from opposite directions
I
in a
know.
lot of different areas of life.
It's like that framework has to be exactly the same every single time, but yet everything in the middle is just chaos. But the
This is
framework, my
true.
boundaries are the same. I know I will start the day and end the day exactly the same. Environment, surroundings, temperature, no matter what it is, but everything in the middle can literally stretch from the far right to the far left to the deep south to the true north. It can go anywhere.
Well, and I think that's why that physical environment is so important to you, because that's something that you can kind of control and predict when everything else that happens during our day you can't control and predict. And I think it's a matter of kind of explaining that to people and explaining, why we expect the things we expect. Because I think people will understand it more if they understand where we're coming from. On the flip hand side, people are often very tunnel vision, that they don't necessarily see the big picture of why, if I leave something out on my desk during the day in an open environment, how that is going to affect everybody else in 3 days or a week and a half from now. And just explaining that to people and helping them see that is going to be pretty important.
I think from my viewpoint on that one, there is not so much of leaving it out is the issue. It's just that, we obviously spent some time at the Garth Brooks concert this weekend. We're twinning. The first time in my life that I actually twinned with somebody.
Totally twinning, yes.
By the way, look at this nice little thing
Heart
here.
and Hustle t-shirts.
Heart and Hustle t-shirt. We got the merch in. So
Super
it was,
excited.
we were super excited about that. And, but we met some friends down there, I guess, if you will. We were able to get some awesome tickets from Ryan Kramer from Unite and Unite Private Networks, nice company we deal with, and happened to enjoy the evening with him and his girlfriend, and had a really nice night there. And, we walked in and the Haymarket was packed. I mean, thousands and tens of thousands of people down there.
Thousands.
Impossible to find parking, but we had reserved parking, so we're kind of in the game.
Score.
And we went to a restaurant. We ended up getting some chips and some adult beverages, and there's no place to sit, and there's a 2.5 hour wait. So what do? We walk back to our facility, which is literally right in the heart of the epicenter of this Garth Brooks environment. And we sit there in this very nice environment, and we just enjoy ourselves for maybe 20, 30 minutes, maybe half an hour. People watch everywhere.
Chips and salsa.
And just really enjoy it. But in the meantime, it's like, I see stuff that's out. It's like you're having guests over inside your facility or inside your home. And our conference rooms do look like a living room, but nonetheless. And it's just like stuff is there. But yet, even beyond that, that morning, we have a cleaning service that popped in, and the cleaning folks are there. Nice people, trust them with our lives. I mean, we've known them for, a couple of years now at least.
Yeah.
Nice folks. And but yet stuff is out. So there's privacy concerns, there's data that's out there, and none of the stuff out there was customer owned stuff. It was all new stuff. But there's MacBook Airs, and there's brand new computers, there's audio equipment, there's podcast equipment, there is just general technology everywhere. And not having it locked up and secured, is a bother to me. Now, we've only been in there for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, we're
So
going on our third week.
yeah, and I can't say we've not done a great job. We've done a really good job, I think. But we're kind of trying to hone in those skills, and there's kind of this yin and yang thing with me. It's like, yeah, we got to have it super clean and nice and kind of Apple like. I love that environment, but yet there's a whole sense of security thing there. And when we have people, people that don't necessarily work for our organization, or they work, they may be third-party contractors that come into our new location, they shouldn't have access to this stuff or even see it. It should be locked up behind the doors, and so on and so forth.
Well, that's something, a lot of people don't think of, because I know that, as kind of a parody yet a helpful hint, Our technical team the other day did a fun little Facebook skit
You remember that?
on, yeah, keeping your passwords. Don't keep your password under your keyboard. Like, not a good idea.
That's right.
But I think, there's a lot of people. I mean, you and I both work with a lot of clients who don't necessarily think about that data security and all the way from hiring to firing to everything in between. I mean, we've had major security issues with people leaving organizations or just how do you handle when somebody leaves an organization? What do you do with their data? What do you do with their email? What do you do with, all that kind of stuff? So
Did I tell you what happened this week with a client?
maybe,
It,
did you?
I don't know. Everybody shall remain nameless in this instance, but we had a customer that was, I guess Fished is the right name, Phished,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
and the office manager unfortunately got an email from the CEO, wink, wink, from a Gmail account, wink, wink, and the office manager thought, hey, listen, I'm gonna, process this request, and the CEO emailed her late at night, maybe early in the morning, I'm not sure, and said, hey, listen, I need to change my payroll data. Please deposit my paycheck into this alternative checking account. It came from the person's name. It looked just like this person. It came with a check that was embedded with a copy of the check with the new routing number and also the account number. Looked like the person. It kind of felt like the person, and the office manager processed it like normal. I mean, there was no question, if, ands, or but about it.
It happens all the time.
Small company, very personal company. It's not necessarily a huge company by any means, but she did it, and come to
Happens
find
all the
out,
time.
next payroll process hit, his payroll went into some obscure debit card on some obscure account with some obscure bank,
Yep.
and it just was not caught. And a couple of days before that, another client we work with, the IT admin quit and formatted his computer and erased it and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how does this all tie in together? But you end up tying this stuff together with just like cleanliness of like, I think a lot of people will keep their processes dirty. I think they can keep their environments dirty. I think that people kind of can't keep their things tied up or tidied up to the point where they know exactly where everything are at, where their data is at or who has control over it. But in the same aspect, they can't be leaving things lie around either. So they have to be very concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm concerned on both angles. Who has access to what, who can see what, but yet I don't want any of my stuff being seen.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
even when, the grandparents come over or the parents come over or someone stops by, I just don't want the stuff out and about. And it's like protection at all costs. And I know that when people walk into our facility, they see very, very clean environments. They see very, organized spaces, and the data is treated like that as well.
Yeah.
And I think in some environments we walk in and it's literal chaos. Passwords are underneath the keyboard. Coop doesn't matter, but he has the spider sense.
Soren senses are tingling.
And he'll definitely pop up and see that, but Coop can't be everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see those environments and it's like, how can you protect that every day? How can you educate people in terms of, being clean and organized in terms of when it comes into data security and modeling and versus just, everyday use, and do the two inner worlds, do the two worlds collide at some point in time?
Yes. And yes.
I think so too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think so too. In fact, today, I think it was this morning, there was sticky notes all over the desks over, I forget who, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I just threw them away. I don't even know what was even on those things. I mean, there could have been notes on Monday for this person. I literally just took them and threw them away because it was literally garbage. It was wadded up sticky notes of something somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just shred them. Actually, I think they're in the shredder bin now. So just in case you're missing sticky notes, whoever desk that was.
Somebody's
I
password.
think they're in the paper tiger, which is awesome, by the way. Bin in the hallway.
Yeah. Can't leave that stuff laying around.
No.
It's too important. And I mean, we do have a pretty secure environment physically, but there's no room for error. We have to be very careful with other people's data, and we have to be careful with our own data. And we try to teach our clients the same. So
yeah, I don't know. It's very important to me. So somehow I got to learn to give a little bit on that kind of stuff and learn not to be so, I'm not going to even say the word, but maybe uptight about cleanliness or whatever.
Yeah,
but
some people think of it as you being just uptight and
Yeah.
a control freak, and they don't like it. But I think if you explain the importance of it and why we are doing what we are doing, I think people will come to understand that for sure.
Yeah, it's nowhere near a control freak. I am not that type of person, but I am a person that likes consistency when it comes into working environments. And I mean, even as a kid, like I'd do homework like in 7th grade or 8th grade or 9th grade. It didn't matter what the grade, I did homework. And I would, but before I could do any homework at night, I'd have to make sure my room was perfectly clean. And I would have my bed. I mean, it could be 7 o'clock at night. My bed had to be made. My desk had to be picked up. My Star Wars characters had to be lined up in my dresser just perfect. Everything had to be just perfect. And once the environment was done, I could sit down and now I had zero distractions on that would allow me to sit and focus on what the task I had to do at hand.
That's weird, man. That's weird.
But even here, even in this environment, inside the nest or inside of, the office, I guess, if you would, or the coop, things could be out of place. And I would be sitting there thinking, I can't work on this until this is done. Even the pictures we went to hang tonight, I can't sit in the conference room knowing that there's pictures on the floor waiting to be hung up on the wall that take 22 seconds to do. I can't work. It's like I have to leave the room in order to actually focus on that.
Well, it's kind of funny. It reminds me of that. We went out to eat to dinner the other night.
Where to?
Rosie's downtown.
Oh, yes. Rosie's
I
downtown.
don't know if we should say that because we're about ready to out them.
Yes.
But we happened to look up at the ceiling because it's a new place and we were just looking around and somebody they painted the ceiling black.
They did. No, well, kind of a brownish color.
Yeah, it was black, but
Instagram poster.
They left a light bulb in there and just painted over it.
They spray painted the ceiling and spray paint, and I was like, this is crazy. And in the nest where we're at here, this was an outbuilding, and I mean, I'm sure we can get some old pictures here to show what this place was, but this was an outbuilding with gaps in the ceiling and ceiling everywhere. And we completely transformed it into this phenomenal environment. But here, prior, there was actually a mezzanine built with hooks and pulleys everywhere in the ceiling, and there were ropes and plastic netting and all this stuff. And I remember that there was some sort of pulley in the ceiling, and it was way up high in one of the rafters, and they painted over it. The painter freaking painted over it, and I think I pointed it out to you.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, we're gonna get a lift. We're going to rent whatever we have to do, spend $300 and rent a lift, get it here, and go way up, 20-some foot in the air and undo this pulley, then hire the painter to come back and touch everything up. But it would bug me. It would bug me to the point where I could not work because I'd be looking at that stupid thing thinking, what now?
Some people think that's a little overboard.
It is way overboard. Is it an excuse of not to work?
Is it?
I don't think so, but I love to work. It's just who I am, I guess. So
Funny.
Yeah, I don't measure my grass after I cut it, even though some people thought I probably did. I probably should, but don't go quite that far.
No, that's a little extreme.
Yeah, it's a little extreme. So, anyways, what's new in your world, inside the HR world lately?
A lot happening with.
Okay, let's stop here.
Okay.
Give me your thoughts. Mandatory COVID vaccines for the employed of organizations. Yes or no? Go.
No.
No.
And that's all we're going to say.
No, let's talk about this a little
I
bit.
don't think that's a whole different.
You always say it's a whole different episode. I mean, Victoria, I want you to go back now and look at all the past episodes. And when she says it's a whole different episode, 1, 2, I mean, I know there's 6 or 7, maybe 10. It's a whole different episode.
You're opening a can of worms here that we cannot even touch on this. This podcast is already too long.
Cherries.
We do have cherries.
We do have cherries.
Yeah.
They're wonderful. Too bad. Yeah, they're still good.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be more to talk about as the whole mandatory vaccine thing develops over the next couple of weeks. So we'll save that one.
I don't know what my thoughts are quite yet about that. I kind of am inside your world where I think it's a controversial topic. Do I think companies should mandate vaccines for their employees? It's a hard question to ask or to answer.
It's very difficult.
No.
Yeah.
You know what we should do?
There's a lot of controversy going on in that world.
We are going to bring your brother on for this podcast next time.
That's probably not a good idea.
Mr. Dustin Dubs. We're going to bring him on for this podcast because that way we can have a third party. represent.
Yeah, but then you want the whole flip side, which it would be an all-out war raging in the nest.
I want to hear his thoughts on that, just from a complete outsider, a worker, I guess you would say, in the workforce that's very passionate about that topic.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to hear from him, but I also think it'd be very good to hear from others that are very passionate the other way, like where they should be mandated and why they need to be mandated for the protection of the health and the awareness, like with inside the medical facilities. I mean, we have nurses that are, working tirelessly through that entire epidemic or pandemic or whatever you want to call it, and working 24 hours a day and sleeping outside in the backyards of their homes because they're afraid that their families, that they may be get infected where they can't go back into work. And now they're being fired because they refuse to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
So
it's a very controversial subject right now.
I don't think it's something we should dismiss. I don't think it's something that we should not talk about and get into.
Sure, we can talk about it.
Whether or not
you just need a whole hour to be able to talk about it.
Because whether or not we, you and I, agree or disagree, or even agree to disagree, or even disagree to agree, whatever that means, whether you and I have the viewpoints of the majority or the minority really doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. They're just viewpoints. Mm-hmm. They're different ways of thinking about it.
Yep.
So we all know
there's
how that goes.
Lots of different ways to think about it too. So
what else is going on in your world?
HR specifically?
Whatever. Sure.
Just a lot of changes with our new office building, and we're working on hiring, and that's a big deal. And, school has started, and who knows what's going to happen with school this year. That's a whole nother COVID conversation. But yeah, lots of changes going on and trying to get into the swing of some things and move forward on some things. And
you're seeing a lot of big words like moving forward, changes.
There's lots of things happening.
I think there's a lot of things going on right now. I think this fall is going to be up for grabs for a lot of things when it comes into, employees and, not just ours by any means, but in general, a lot of time off, a lot of awareness. I think people have gotten used to this world of being able to work remote. I think a lot of people are coming back into the office, but they used to kind of like that feeling of working remote, and they kind of want to feel that environment or kind of come back into it. I think that school starting back up, school schedules are getting nuts. We're already seeing inside of our place when schedules are changing, kids' schedules are being modified and changed accordingly, and it's causing not a havoc, but it's causing concern for the parents and how they're going to adjust their work schedules and how their how their environment's going to change and how their work-life balance is going to be impacted. I'm seeing that a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a lot of, I can't say friends, I'm nowhere near that age by any means, but I'm seeing folks in my community that are retiring after years and years. I see younger kids that are trying to step up and become leaders and managers and have probably no business being inside that role. Some that do a really good job, some that are really, really bad. So there's lots of changes, I think, in our world.
There's a lot going on. So there definitely is.
Yeah. So anyways, but to that, tomorrow night, let's talk about COVID.
Okay.
Let's talk about COVID in the workforce and kind of what your raw feelings are about that.
Okay.
You've been kind of avoiding the situation. I have a bigger bucket of cherries for you to go through if you have to.
Not avoiding. I deal with it when I must. I've had a lot of questions from employers about how to handle certain situations.
And how you handle it here and how you speak about it is not necessarily always the advice that you give to
100%.
to clients that we work with or to, it depends on the situation.
It also, it depends on the industry. It depends on the size. It depends on...
It always depends on the size.
A lot of things. It depends on a lot of things.
It does.
Yeah.
So you're a wonderful person. Did you enjoy the concert the other night?
The concert was pretty amazing.
I think it was pretty amazing too. I have never...
There were so... That stadium was so packed. I've never seen it that packed.
90,000 plus people.
It was crazy. The energy was just nuts.
I saw 2 people wearing masks, maybe 3.
Yeah.
I didn't see anybody physically. I just saw most social media pictures, like the 1%ers, but I think they were like the 0.001%ers.
There were very few people wearing masks.
There were.
So there's a lot of people who have a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Anyways, you can read the comments about that, but you know, it is whatever. So anyhow.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts about what type of therapy I need to kind of help me through my cleanliness issues and my ability to kind of, get past this 51st dates scenario of starting every day, ending every day the same. It is what it is on there, but
I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think there's nothing wrong with having the expectation of cleanliness and order, especially when you're working with multiple people and there's a lot happening. You need that kind of
balance framework,
yes.
whatever you want to call it. So,
Yep.
anyways, enjoy it, everybody. Have a great day, and see you soon.